I'm Mark Jackson, and I hate online recipes.
Welcome to Grumble Goat. My name is Matt Labodka, and this is a show about all the small things that drive me insane. Let's grumble.
Now, let me break it down for you. Here's the deal. I love to cook. I'm a huge home cook. I'm all about finding new recipes, and I do appreciate using the internet, Google, to have access to really cool things that I may have never heard of. However, there's really only just like one thing that I just like hate about what I encounter literally probably 95% of the time whenever I'm looking at a new recipe is these novels that I have to get through just to get to the recipe. I get it. It's really cool that you found this recipe in your grandma's old recipe book that she had from 30 years ago. You want to write this whole dissertation about how she made this thing for you when you were 5 and how it really makes you feel great and this and where you got and sourced your flour and your vegetables from. But then I still don't have a recipe. And half of those things don't actually pertain anything to do with what the actual recipe that we're making is. So it's like, why am I looking at a recipe to make this butternut squash soup and you're over here talking about where you foraged the mushrooms and how you found them, which is just a very small little like portion of the recipe. Just give me the recipe. Show me what the amount of ingredients that I need to either buy or source or find in my pantry or cabinet and just like let it go. But of course, it's like this trend that is just sort of happening and everyone needs to like over-explain and people feel like they need to know the exact source and reason of why you're doing this. And I'm here to tell you that nobody cares. I really feel like I'm just scrolling for sometimes days just to get the like 10 items that I need for this recipe. I'm honestly really curious as to like who actually reads these like paragraphs that lead down to the recipe and if anyone actually like takes anything from it. I feel that most of us just like scroll through and keep it going. And so why is it that we still have these long dissertations and these essays? It's just crazy to me. Literally, nobody cares. I'm Mark Jackson and I hate online recipes. And that's the grumble.
Grumble, 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 grumble.
What?
Grumble, 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 grumble. What's got your goat?
For the latter half of the show, we'll bring in my better half, Veronique, for an unpretentious look and a segment we call
What's got your goat?
Veronique, welcome back to the studio.
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. It's nice
it's good to
be
see you
here.
again. Yeah, I've been missing you for a week. It's been since I've seen you.
No, you've seen me every day.
Oh, no, heard you because we only speak to each other. No, wow. I'm just kidding. I heard everything you had to tell me this whole week.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know I talked a lot, and especially I like to talk to you while you're sleeping. But that's another grumble for another day.
As long as we're airing our baggage, we have a guest with us in the studio today.
He's an attendant with us today.
Yeah, Mark Jackson,
Mark.
welcome to the studio.
Hey guys, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. We're so excited that you're here.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. It's been a fun evening so far. What with dinner?
I know. We are vegan
was
today.
Great. It was great. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the quick bend to like accommodate me. I really do.
Oh, of course. It's totally
Quick
fine.
bend nothing. I mean,
Super easy.
generally we're vegetarian here.
Yeah. I just had to make
all
sure.
we had to do was take out the butter.
No, I had to make sure there was no cheese. I love cheese.
She puts cheese. Yeah, she loves the cheese.
Yeah.
I used to love cheese too, but cheese didn't let me back. So,
Rude cheese. Rude.
Mark, what are you up to these days?
a whole lot of nothing.
That's the pandemic life.
Just kind of hanging out, figuring out what I'm going to do next. But because I'm just waiting on this pandemic to be over, I feel like I've been waiting for like 3 years. We're still here.
Yeah.
You know?
In 2016, I sort of settled into the pandemic. But then, the last 3 years,
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm done with it now. Yeah.
And now it's 2035. And
oh, well, that's what I'm saying. And all of these weddings, like Kim just got engaged and she's like booked a space for 2023. I was like,
2023.
Wow. I mean, I get it though. For weddings, you kind of have to.
Kind of have to, right? I mean, I guess you had to do that even before the pandemic.
Well, the pandemic now, people, I mean, the amount of weddings that are happening this year.
Yeah, I know. And the people that are still already, they're married. They got married during the pandemic,
And are
but
still
now
having
they're
weddings.
throwing the party.
I was trying to commute to work yesterday, and I went down to the subway, and it was off limits because it was booked for a private party. It was a wedding. In the
A
subway.
wedding in the ew, who would get married in the subway? What station? What station?
It was right here.
Oh my god.
The party spilled out a
No.
little bit onto the street.
Well, now you're being silly.
Well, that station's gross. Because let me tell you one time, true story, we were like coming out of the train and we were walking up the steps. And I kid you not, right as soon as I cleared a step right behind me, I heard liquid falling.
Oh.
And we looked around and turned around, and there was a man peeing, going down.
Sure.
He just like peed over the railing.
Unreal.
Good on New York City, y'all. Good on New
I mean,
York.
sometimes
We
you gotta
love
go
you.
when you gotta go.
When you gotta go, you gotta go. And I think we all can agree we've been in those
Oh, we've been in those situations.
situations where,
Dire
especially at like
straits.
3 a.m, and
We don't want to talk about that.
This
Yeah.
Yes.
cities where we're
You have that moment and you're
by
like,
buildings and people,
and ain't
but
nowhere to go to
there's
use the restroom.
nowhere to go to the bathroom.
Mark, you are a director. You are also an actor.
Yeah.
And we love you. We love you.
I love
Happy that
y'all.
You're here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us in the
Thank you for
studio.
joining.
Thanks for having me. By the way, dinner tonight was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, Veronique cooked and it was fantastic.
Thanks.
Did you make these like this up, or did you like, or were all these things that you found like recipes for?
Okay, so I have like a little pocket full of things that I know I can make within an hour at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I chose to do was spaghetti squash, which I put in the oven, which was lovely. And
Yeah.
I have to toot my own horn right now.
Go for it. Do it. You
I
deserve it.
really think that was the best time I've ever made spaghetti squash.
It was really
Because
good.
every time I've made it before, it was not flavorful and it tasted like nothing.
And this actually tastes. I was like, I could eat this without the tomatoes, like
Right.
without anything else.
I
Like,
did add a dash of Parmesan cheese.
No,
just
you
to liven
didn't.
it up a
No,
little
you
bit.
I
didn't.
hate you, and I'm gonna go home and die, literally. Like, you know, just like I'm technically vegan, but when there's free oysters and they're really good, you know,
We may have
sometimes
some
you gotta
salt
break.
water.
Sometimes you gotta break that diet, you know. So, and I trust I did that a few times this summer. So, do I want to be vegan the rest of my life? Probably not.
I don't know about that.
Like, do y'all cook a lot? Like, do you?
Now we do. Well, actually, it's different now. Like we did, and now we're kind of getting back into our
I'm
normal life, and
there
so
with
now we're not cooking as
Yeah,
much
because
as we
work
did.
is like coming in, and
Yes.
yeah. But the great thing about like the pandemic was like all the really cool things that I got to like cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
It
like
was a glorious
you know,
about making 3-course meals
3 times a day.
Well, and
Plus snacks.
but also during the pandemic, I was like, this is wartime. We need to feed each other. So we were eating like hearty food.
Oh, same. We had like duck.
Soups and stews and like all the time. I was like, we need rice, we need potatoes in this. All of the soul food. I was like, this is what I need right now.
Yeah.
And it showed.
And then we put on
Even
the
though-
1450.
Right? And we were working out. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
we weren't.
When you
We
guys,
weren't.
when you all cook, do you try to follow recipes? Like, do you
Okay.
like love an online recipe?
Yes. So,
situation?
okay, I have an answer for you.
Yeah, go for it.
When I first started cooking, if I were to look at a recipe, I would be like, what are they talking about? I would have no idea what I needed to do. But then Deirdre, thankfully, she's like, what do you mean? You just like throw things in a pot and you just like make something. And I was like, oh, this is the creative aspect of cooking that I
That
had
works
no
for some
idea
things. I
about.
agree. That definitely works
Yes.
for a number of things.
For a number of
If you're
things.
doing like a 1-pot pasta meal, yeah.
Right.
you can, like,
When I look up a
Yes.
recipe, like if I don't know how to make something and I'm like, oh, I haven't made this before, I'll look it up. So I'll go to the internet and I'll ask the internet how to make it. And I'll get these blogs.
Oh, the
my
blogs.
God.
And you got to scroll through all the ads. And then
All the
you just want to watch
ads.
the video of
And
how,
then there's
how
a
you make it.
story about how their grandmother did this and their
Yes.
grandmother did that, and pick for real.
Pick
y'all.
the flowers
Like,
from the garden and
Yeah.
put it in the meal.
So you obviously
Right.
feel like it's like I just
So-
want to know the recipe.
I want to know the recipe. Like if there's a video firsthand, perfect. I know exactly what that is.
See, me, I'm
Whisk,
anti-video.
blah.
I'm the
because, like,
same.
I'd rather have it written out because like then my eyes can just scan for what I need.
Oh no.
Because that's the point. Because when I first look at a recipe, I want to know what I need to buy or what I have in my pantry or cabinet.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, I have flour, I have butter, I got this seasoning. Oh, we're almost out of that, so I need to buy this. I need to get this.
Yeah.
But most of the time when we get on there, there's
A whole story.
a whole like dissertation
There's
Yeah.
a dissertation of how to make it.
of how to make it. I
Yes. That
don't care about.
Like you clearly picked like 3 recipes to look at and compare. Well, at least if I'm going to make like a casserole or like something like that, I need like a corn
I'm like, who's
dish.
got the best
or
like,
recipe right now?
I'm gonna. Oh, that idea was great
Yes.
from this one, so I'm gonna like add this to that. That
Exactly.
sounds like that's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Like,
So if I'm looking to like, okay, I have corn on the cob. What am I going to do with it? So like I go down the recipe, like all recipe or whatever.
yeah, but then you get to in 1997, my grandmother
Yes.
made this pie for me one time, and it was the best, and I loved it.
And
then
I
in
lost the recipe.
and then in
Here's my
2011,
best guess.
but last week I found it, and I'm just gonna share this with you
And
all.
I'm sharing it with you now. It's like everything needs a story.
Absolutely.
Step 1 is first I think about my grandmother, I shed a tear, and I try and save that.
wait.
And you're gonna mix that in later. In
But here's the deal: is my grandmother's not dead; she's alive. I saw
Right,
her last
exactly,
week. Like,
exactly.
She's standing behind me as I'm typing
And
this.
she's telling me what to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And how to do it.
No, if I need to know how to make something, I do the Google search and then I find it and then I look at the ingredients and that's it. I ignore all the paragraphs.
Right.
Scroll through.
I'm the same way, but my whole thing is that it's like,
ingredients, I can figure it out.
if we're into like 5 to 10 years of everyone ignoring the dissertation or essay or like for your recipe, why are we still doing this? Why is this like the thing?
Why are we just still doing this? We just want to know what the recipe
I just want to know the recipe is because first of all, if I wanted to subscribe to your blog, I would subscribe to your blog.
Yeah.
But all recipes, boo, is not your blog.
It's not your blog. That's hey, okay. What about that? When I click on the thing of all recipes, and then I totally am taken to a different website.
Whole other website.
With the whole
and there's
thing.
a picture of
And
you
there's
holding your
pop-ups,
vegetables and
all the pops up,
rolling pins.
And then I
like,
think to myself, it's recipe.
and the next thing you know, you just bought a 6-piece pot set on Amazon.
Exactly.
And
Now-
like,
I just want a video.
I have another question for you. It's like talking about recipes. When
Yeah.
you do find these online recipes, do you follow them like
To a T.
to a T?
Well, I found Grandma Olga's apple pie recipe a couple, like.
Well, baking
many
is a
years
little different.
I didn't realize you followed
You're
my
right.
blog.
No.
You're Grandma Olga? Oh, okay.
Grandma, you look so different than the last time I saw you.
As the robots take over and we no longer have to worry about recipes, what are the robots cooking for us?
Oh, that's never happening in my house.
Watson? You don't think Watson's going to be cooking for you?
Watson's already writing recipes.
Watson's writing recipes.
But I will never have a robot cook for me.
When the robots take over and you're letting your robot make a nice dip out of goat cheese and avocados that are whipped together, can the robot just use your grandmother spinning in her grave as a blender?
No.
No! So rude. But like,
Mark, what's your guiltiest pleasure? What's the most processed food you'll eat?
that's a good question.
That is a hard question.
Like what you put some Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
You like those processed.
Have you eaten anything out of a
Oreos.
box recently?
I mean, I grew up kind of cooking, but I really started cooking a lot in college because I had to.
You're on your own.
And I was on my own and I was trying to save money. And so,
Now, when I was in college, my specialty was ramen noodle soup with a cut up hot dog in it.
What?
like when I was in college, I was like making like pan-seared salmon and like broccoli.
When I was in college, they opened a Jimmy John's on my campus.
Jimmy John's.
And at Jimmy John's, you could get a whole hoagie of day-old bread for 39 cents.
Where was this?
There were multiple days that I existed on just 39-cent bread.
So can I tell you a funny story about Jimmy John's? Is I've literally had Jimmy John's one time in my life.
Now, do you want to tell us the ingredients at the top, or do you want to tell the story first?
I don't even remember what sandwich I had at Jimmy John's. Like this
Perfect.
was.
Tell the story.
I'm not a sandwich person. You know, weird. So there was like a period of time, especially when I was like early elementary school,
Okay.
where my older sister actually made my lunch. My mom like never made. I think my mom made my lunch like 4 times ever in my life. I mean, my mom was a great mom, depending on how you want to like view it. But you know, my older sister, who's 5 years older than me, a decent age gap. But there's also we got older, the gap got very smaller, and you're like, oh, we actually were like. But when we were younger, you know, my 13-year-old sister was,
Huge.
you know, making sandwiches for her 8-year-old brother to go to lunch.
Just the recipe. Just tell me what I need for it.
I'm going for it. I'm just trying to help people out.
But what do I need to buy at the store?
Ham, turkey, chicken, whatever. Cheese is not required. That's all you need. Very simple. Don't have to overcomplicate.
Now, do you think you need to follow a recipe for that?
Absolutely not.
This has been an episode of Grumble Goat.
Thanks for listening.
I'm Matt Labatka.
I'm Veronique Hurley. Please subscribe.
I hate when people say please subscribe.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
When there's free oysters, sometimes you got to break that diet.